She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
Some secrets are too big to stay hidden forever. And this one? It's sending shockwaves through the royal family. Tucker Carlson couldn't believe what he was hearing. His guest sat across from him, calmly revealing something about Queen Camilla that no one was supposed to know. The look on Carlson's face said it all: disgust, shock, and maybe even a little anger. Who was the guest on Tucker Carlson's show? Now, first things first, who was the person who made this claim? This wasn't just some random YouTuber or a gossip columnist trying to make headlines. No, this was someone who had real knowledge, someone with access to information that the public was never supposed to hear. Some sources believe it was a former royal staff member, someone who worked behind the scenes in the palace, watching everything unfold up close. Others claim it was an investigative journalist, someone who had spent years digging into the hidden secrets of the British royal family. Whoever they were, one thing was clear: they knew something that most people didn't. And when they spoke, even Tucker Carlson, a man who has covered some of the most controversial stories in modern history, was left stunned. What did they reveal about Queen Camilla? Now let's talk about the real bombshell. What did this guest actually say that made Tucker Carlson react with shock and disgust? The guest revealed that Queen Camilla may have been involved in secret dealings that the royal family desperately wanted to keep hidden. And this wasn't just about her past relationship with King Charles. This was something far bigger, something that could seriously damage her reputation, and possibly even the monarchy itself. The claims fell into three major categories: financial scandals, secret political influence, and personal controversies. 1. Financial scandals. One of the biggest revelations was that Camilla had allegedly been involved in financial corruption. According to the guest, she may have used her royal influence to help certain powerful businessmen and politicians in exchange for personal benefits. There were claims that she had connections with secretive investors, possibly even foreign ones, who were using the British royal family's name to push their own agendas. Some reports suggested that these shady dealings involved hidden bank accounts, offshore investments, and even land acquisitions that the public was never supposed to know about. Now think about it. The British monarchy is already criticized for the way they handle money. Every year, British taxpayers pay millions to support the royal family. So, if Queen Camilla was secretly using her position to benefit herself financially, that would be a huge scandal. The British people would feel betrayed. Could this be the reason why the royal family always keeps its finances so secretive? Could this be why certain details are never made public? These are questions that, if answered, could shake the very foundation of the monarchy. 2. Political influence. The guest didn't stop at financial scandals. They also claimed that Queen Camilla might be playing a much bigger role in controlling the royal family's decisions than people realize. Many believe that King Charles is the one making all the big choices. But what if that's not entirely true? What if Camilla has been influencing key royal decisions from behind the scenes? The guest suggested that Camilla had been secretly involved in major political discussions, possibly even pressuring government officials to make decisions that would benefit her and her inner circle. If this is true, then it completely changes the way we see the royal family. The monarchy is supposed to stay out of politics. They're supposed to be neutral. But if Camilla is pulling the strings behind the scenes, then what does that mean for democracy? 3. Personal scandals. And now, the part that made people's jaws drop: the personal scandals. For years, people have whispered about Camilla's role in the downfall of Princess Diana. We all know that Charles and Camilla had an affair while Charles was still married to Diana. But what if Camilla's involvement went deeper than we ever knew? The guest hinted that Camilla may have played a much bigger role in Diana's emotional struggles, possibly even working behind the scenes to isolate Diana from the royal family. But that wasn't all. There were also claims that Camilla had personal secrets of her own. Secrets that, if exposed, could ruin her reputation forever. Affairs? Hidden relationships? Connections with people the royal family wouldn't want the public to know about? The guests didn't give every single detail, but they made one thing very clear. Queen Camilla is not as innocent as she seems. Tucker Carlson's reaction. Now, let's talk about how Tucker Carlson reacted to all of this. We all know that Tucker is not easily shocked. He has covered some of the most intense stories out there, from political scandals to media corruption. But when his guest started exposing Queen Camilla, something changed. At first, Tucker looked curious. You could see in his face that he was paying close attention, trying to figure out whether this was just another wild conspiracy theory, or if there was real substance behind it. But as the guest went on, his expression got more serious. His eyes narrowed, his lips tightened. It was almost like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And then, when the biggest claims were made about Camilla's secret influence and possible corruption, Tucker's reaction said it all. He shook his head. He leaned back in his chair. And for a moment, he was completely silent. That silence spoke louder than words. Finally, when he did speak, he asked the question that everyone at home was probably thinking. Why is nobody talking about this? And that's a great question, isn't it? Why is the media so quick to defend Queen Camilla? Why are these stories always buried? Why is it that every time a scandal about the royal family starts to surface, it suddenly disappears from the headlines? Tucker didn't outright say that he believed every word the guest said. He didn't claim that every detail was 100% confirmed. But he did say one thing very clearly. This was a conversation worth having. And that's the part that really matters. If even half of these claims are true, then the British public deserves to know. If Queen Camilla has been hiding dirty secrets, then the truth will come out sooner or later. The royal family's history of cover-ups. The British royal family is one of the most powerful and well-protected families in the world. They have wealth, influence, and a long history of carefully shaping their public image. Every time they step out in public, they are smiling, waving, and looking perfect. But behind closed doors, that's a different story. For decades, the royal family has been accused of covering up scandals, silencing people, and hiding the truth from the public. And every time a new scandal comes out, the same question arises. What else are they hiding? Now, with a shocking revelation about Queen Camilla, people are wondering once again, is this just another royal cover-up? To understand that, let's take a look at history. Because trust me, this isn't the first time the royal family has tried to keep something buried. The Prince Andrew scandal. One of the most shocking scandals in recent history involves Prince Andrew, the second son of Queen Elizabeth II. For years, Andrew was seen as a typical royal, attending events, smiling for the cameras, and living a life of luxury. But in 2019, everything changed. His name became linked to Jeffrey Epstein, a man who was known for some of the most horrible crimes imaginable. Even worse, a woman named Virginia Giuffre came forward, claiming that she was forced to be with Prince Andrew when she was just 17 years old. She had proof, photos, and witnesses. The accusations were horrifying. Now, what do you think the royal family did? Did they allow a proper investigation? Did they demand justice? Instead, they went into full damage control mode. They stayed quiet, hoping people would forget. But when the media kept digging, they tried a different tactic. Prince Andrew did an interview with the BBC, hoping to clear his name. But instead, he made things worse. He denied knowing Virginia, even though there was a photo of them together. He even used the strangest excuse. He claimed he couldn't have been with her on a certain date because he was at a pizza restaurant with his daughter. Yes, you heard that right. His alibi for one of the biggest scandals in royal history was pizza. The backlash was immediate. The interview was a disaster. People were furious. The royal family had no choice but to act. They stripped Andrew of his royal titles and public duties. He disappeared from public life. But did he ever face real consequences? Not really. Eventually, the royal family made a secret deal with Virginia Giuffre. They paid her millions of dollars so she would drop the case. And just like that, the scandal was quietly buried. But here's the real question. If the royal family was willing to protect Prince Andrew, who else have they protected? The tragic story of Princess Diana. Now, let's talk about Princess Diana, the most beloved royal in modern history. Diana was different. She was warm, kind, and truly cared about people. She didn't just smile and wave. She connected with the public. And because of that, she was adored by millions. But the royal family? They didn't feel the same way. Diana was seen as a problem. She didn't follow the rules. She spoke openly about her struggles, her loneliness, and her failing marriage to Charles. And when she famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," referring to Camilla, she embarrassed the entire monarchy. Diana was supposed to stay quiet, but she refused. She exposed secrets the royal family didn't want the world to know. She talked about how Charles had been in love with Camilla all along. She talked about how the palace controlled every aspect of her life. And then, in 1997, something terrible happened. Diana died in a car crash in Paris. The world was in shock. The official story was that her driver was drunk, lost control, and crashed. But a lot of people didn't believe that. Witnesses claimed they saw a mysterious white car near Diana's vehicle just before the crash. Some heard loud bangs before the car lost control. And then there's the most chilling part. Diana herself had predicted something like this would happen. She had written a letter, saying she believed someone was planning an accident to get rid of her. And guess who she named in that letter? Prince Charles. Was it really just an accident? Or was it something more? We may never know for sure. But what we do know is that when the royal family wants something to disappear, they make it happen. How the royal family controls public perception. The royal family is not just a family, it's a business. It survives because people admire and respect it. But what happens when scandals threaten their reputation? That's when their damage control team steps in. They have media experts, PR advisors, and strategists working 24/7 to protect their image. If bad news comes out, they don't panic, they manage it. Sometimes they ignore the story, hoping it fades away. Sometimes they release a carefully worded statement that says nothing but sounds important. And when things get really bad, they create a distraction. For example, when Prince Andrew's scandal became too big to ignore, what happened? Suddenly, the media was flooded with negative stories about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The timing was suspicious. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it a strategic distraction? The royal family has mastered the art of controlling public opinion. And that's why people are now questioning this new scandal about Queen Camilla. Is this just another royal cover-up? Is this new scandal about Queen Camilla another cover-up? So now we return to the big question. What about Queen Camilla? We know she has a history. We know she was at the center of Charles and Diana's broken marriage. We know she was once hated by the public. And even now, as queen, there are still people who don't trust her. Now, shocking information about her has come out. A guest on Tucker Carlson's show exposed something so disturbing that even Tucker looked disgusted. But here's the real question. What is the royal family doing to cover it up? Will they stay silent, hoping people forget? Will they release a carefully worded statement? Or will they distract us with another story? Maybe more drama about Harry and Meghan. If history has taught us anything, it's that the royal family will do whatever it takes to protect their image. But the truth has a way of coming out. The only question is, when? How the public reacted to the scandal. So what happened after this shocking revelation about Queen Camilla? Well, the internet exploded. People couldn't stop talking about it. Twitter was on fire, Reddit was buzzing, and YouTube comment sections were filled with arguments. Some were furious, some were shocked, and others were like, well, we saw this coming. Let's start with Twitter. Now, if you've spent even 5 minutes on Twitter, you know how wild things can get there. The moment this story broke, people started tweeting like crazy. Some users were posting memes, comparing Queen Camilla to historical villains. Others were writing long threads, trying to break down the situation like detectives. One tweet that went viral said, "First Diana, now this." The royal family never fails to disappoint. It got thousands of likes and retweets. But not everyone was against her. Some royal supporters were defending Camilla, saying people were being too harsh. One person tweeted, This is just another attack on the monarchy. The Queen has worked hard to be where she is today. But that tweet? Yeah, it didn't get as much love. Most of the replies were people disagreeing, posting old clips of Diana's interviews, where she talked about her struggles. Now, Reddit was a whole different battlefield. You know how Reddit works. It's full of deep discussions. People were posting in forums like r/conspiracy, r/royal gossip, and even r/world news. Some users were sharing links to old news articles trying to prove that Camilla had always been hiding something. Others were asking, why do we still have a monarchy in 2025? A Reddit post with thousands of upvotes said, no matter how much the royal family tries to clean their image, the truth always finds a way out. And you know what? That's exactly what a lot of people felt. They believed the royal family had been covering up secrets for years, and this was just another example. And then, of course, there was YouTube. Tucker Carlson's clip from the show was trending. The comments section? A war zone. Some people were praising Tucker for speaking out, saying the mainstream media would never expose this. Others were saying Americans should stay out of British affairs, which of course made the comment section even messier. British versus American public opinion. Now, here's where things got really interesting. The way British people reacted was very different from the way Americans did. Let's talk about the British reaction first. A lot of people in the UK were angry, but not exactly surprised. You see, the British public has had a complicated relationship with Camilla for decades. Some have accepted her as queen, but many still see her as the woman who hurt Diana. This revelation just added fuel to the fire. Some British tabloids went all in. Headlines like, "The Queen's darkest secret finally exposed," started appearing. Morning talk shows had debates about whether the monarchy was still trustworthy. And you know what's interesting? Many older Brits, the ones who lived through the whole Charles-Diana-Camilla drama, were the angriest. They felt like history was repeating itself. But Americans? Oh, Americans love a good royal scandal. The US has always been fascinated with the British monarchy, even though they technically broke away from it hundreds of years ago. To many Americans, the royal family is like a real-life soap opera. So when this story came out, it wasn't just royal watchers who were talking about it. Everybody was. Fox News, CNN, and even independent YouTubers started covering it. Some American commentators were comparing it to political corruption, saying things like, "This is why we don't do kings and queens over here." Others were just enjoying the drama, saying things like, "This is better than The Crown on Netflix." But here's the funny part. While many Americans were loving the gossip, some were actually defending Camilla. They felt like the media was being unfair and attacking her just because she wasn't Diana. It was a rare moment where Americans were more sympathetic to the British royal family than the British themselves. Did the royal family say anything? Now this is where things got even more suspicious. At first, Buckingham Palace stayed completely silent. No statements, no interviews, nothing. And you know what that does, right? It makes people even more curious. Eventually, after the story kept spreading, some royal insiders spoke to the media. But their response? It was the usual, "no comment," or "these claims are completely false" type of statement. And let's be honest, does anyone really believe that? One royal expert who often speaks on British TV said, "The palace is in full damage control mode." He explained that the royal family always follows the same strategy when a scandal breaks. Stay silent and hope people move on. If that doesn't work, release a short statement denying everything. If things get really bad, distract the public with another story. And guess what? A few days after this revelation, Prince William and Kate suddenly had a big charity event. Coincidence? Maybe. But a lot of people thought it was a classic move to shift the focus away from Camilla. How this affected Queen Camilla's reputation. So after everything, what did this mean for Queen Camilla? Well, let's just say her popularity didn't exactly go up. Even before this, Camilla wasn't the most loved royal. She had spent years trying to rebuild her image, working on charities and staying out of drama. But deep down, a lot of people never forgot her past. And this scandal? It reminded everyone why they didn't trust her in the first place. Polls started coming out, showing that her approval ratings had dropped. Some people even started calling for her to step down as queen. Of course, that's unlikely to happen, but the fact that people were even discussing it, that says a lot. The younger generation, especially Gen Z, was the most vocal about it. Many of them grew up hearing about Diana's story, and they never fully accepted Camilla. On platforms like TikTok, people started making videos comparing old clips of Diana with new ones of Camilla. One viral TikTok had the caption, "Diana deserved better. The truth always comes out." It had millions of views. Even some royal supporters, who usually defend the monarchy no matter what, were struggling to justify this one. A royal journalist wrote, "This is the biggest challenge Queen Camilla has faced since marrying Charles. Will the public ever see her the same way again?" And that's the big question. Can Camilla ever fix her reputation after this? Or will she always be remembered as the queen with too many secrets? What do you think? Is this the final nail in the coffin for Queen Camilla's public image? Or do you think the royal family will once again escape without consequences? Let us know in the comments below.
King Charles and Queen Camilla are in Australia for the first visit by a reigning British monarch.
Tonight, Britain's Queen Camilla is missing from remembrance events honoring the country's war dead.
When King Charles and Queen Camilla took the throne, they seemed like a perfect power couple, ready to lead the monarchy into a new era. However, behind their calm image lies a story filled with ambition, hidden motives, and power struggles in the royal family. Palace insiders have been talking about Queen Camilla's growing influence behind the scenes, which has reportedly led to tension with the king himself. How did a once supportive partner become a challenger for power in the palace? Join us as we uncover the surprising, untold details of Queen Camilla's rise to prominence. Camilla and Charles's relationship. Charles and Camilla's story began in the early 1970s, long before either of them imagined the intense public scrutiny they'd face. Charles, then a young prince, met Camilla Shand at a polo match. She was charming, confident, and known for her humor, which Charles found refreshing compared to the formality surrounding him. They shared an instant bond with a natural chemistry that neither could ignore. But as the Prince of Wales, Charles faced family pressures over whom he should choose as a partner. A woman from a suitable background, with a clear reputation and without past relationships, was what the royal family expected. Yet despite these pressures, Charles couldn't seem to let go of Camilla. What happened next would change everything. Charles and Camilla's relationship was strong, but he wasn't free to choose as he wished. Pressured by royal duties and expectations, Charles had to put his role before his personal life. Camilla, aware of the limitations that came with his position, eventually married Andrew Parker Bowles, a British Army officer. Their relationship was now officially over, but Charles couldn't simply move on from the deep connection he felt with her. Despite the ending, they continued to write letters, call each other, and occasionally meet, keeping their bond alive even from a distance. As years passed, Charles remained in contact with Camilla even as he prepared to marry Lady Diana Spencer, a match his family deemed ideal for the future king. However, his feelings for Camilla had not disappeared, and this lingering affection would lead to complications. The marriage to Diana was intended to represent continuity for the monarchy, but with his emotions still tied to Camilla, Charles faced an inner struggle. He was torn between the woman he was expected to be with and the woman he loved. Charles's loyalty to Camilla persisted in secrecy, but its impact on his marriage to Diana became visible. Camilla, though not officially part of his life, was present in his thoughts, creating tension that would eventually break through the public's perception of a fairy tale marriage. The secretive bond between Charles and Camilla cast a shadow that grew over time, leading to public speculation and setting the stage for one of the most controversial relationships in royal history. Their story, though forbidden by tradition, duty, and public opinion, would not stay hidden forever. If you are wondering how it turned out, keep watching. Challenges and controversies over the years. As Charles and Diana's marriage faced increasing struggles, rumors of an affair between Charles and Camilla began to surface. By the late 1980s, the British press had begun covering their relationship, with stories about their closeness gradually taking over headlines. The public was captivated by this scandal, one that involved the future king and the woman who had once been his longtime companion. In 1992, Diana's authorized biography was published, exposing her side of the story and giving voice to the difficulties in her marriage. One of the most painful revelations was Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla, something Diana had struggled with privately for years. These revelations instantly captured global media attention, and the public's fascination with the love triangle intensified. It was the beginning of a period of intense scrutiny that would affect them all for years. The revelations didn't stop there. In 1993, a private phone conversation between Charles and Camilla, later dubbed Camillagate, was leaked to the press. This tape confirmed the intimate nature of their relationship and threw fuel on the fire. The public, already angry over the affair, found themselves outraged as Charles, the future king, seemed to breach both his marriage vows and the public's trust. The scandal cast doubt on his character and leadership. While Diana was viewed as the victim, Camilla, a relatively private figure until that point, was now vilified by the media. She was quickly branded as the other woman, a label that would stick with her for years. The fallout from the affair also affected Camilla's marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, which was already under strain. By 1995, the couple's relationship officially ended in divorce, another painful chapter in the public saga. The disintegration of her marriage exposed just how much Charles and Camilla's bond was impacting their personal lives. For Camilla, the affair led to both a public and private cost. She lost her marriage and, by extension, a private life outside the media's reach. With the public's growing interest, the royal family itself began to face more difficult questions. For the British public, these constant revelations led to doubts about the future of the monarchy itself. Charles, bound to inherit the throne, found himself in an increasingly difficult position. His personal choices and relationships had become subjects of national debate, challenging his image as the future king. With each passing year, his suitability as a leader seemed less clear. Camilla, despite her silence, was no longer simply a private individual. She had become a controversial figure, a symbol of the challenges faced by the royal family when tradition collided with personal desires. However, over time, the public perception of Charles and Camilla began to shift. As their story continued to unfold, it revealed how they would, against all odds, seek redemption and attempt to rebuild their relationship with both the public and the royal family. Finding public acceptance. After years of being cast as the villain in the media, Camilla faced an uphill battle for public acceptance. The scandal surrounding her relationship with Charles left many people questioning her intentions, and even her suitability to stand beside the future king. Yet, over time, both she and Charles undertook efforts to reshape public perception. Slowly, they began appearing together more often. Starting with low-profile outings and gradually moving to public events, they were careful not to rush, aware that pushing too fast could only reignite criticism. Their strategy aimed at building acceptance through a genuine, visible bond that felt natural rather than forced. It wasn't an easy process. Even as public displays became more frequent, the shadow of Diana's legacy was ever present. Charles and Camilla's every move was analyzed, and the public remained skeptical. Despite these challenges, Camilla worked quietly to change opinions, often through small gestures. She engaged in charitable work, focusing on causes that were close to her heart, including animal welfare and literacy programs. Over time, her public appearances showed a woman who wasn't chasing fame, but who wanted to support meaningful causes. This approach, though understated, began shifting opinions in her favor. In 2005, Charles and Camilla's relationship took a major step forward when they married in a civil ceremony. This event marked the first time a British monarch-to-be married outside a religious setting, a necessary choice given the circumstances. Although the marriage wasn't celebrated with the same grandeur as other royal weddings, it symbolized a turning point. Many saw it as a respectful step that allowed Charles and Camilla to move forward, closing a painful chapter. With the marriage, Camilla received the title Duchess of Cornwall rather than Princess of Wales, a decision made out of respect for Diana's enduring memory. After the wedding, both Camilla and Charles continued their gradual path toward public acceptance. Camilla took on more royal responsibilities, showing that she was committed to supporting the monarchy and Charles's future reign. Her dedication to charity work and her unassuming demeanor contrasted with the image of a home wrecker painted years earlier. Though acceptance was far from unanimous, a growing number of people began to see her differently. Their path toward redemption wasn't without setbacks, but the couple's patience seemed to work in their favor. Yet even with public opinion softening, new challenges were rising. How would Camilla fare as queen alongside Charles, and would they overcome lingering doubts? Keep watching to find out, preparing for life as queen. With their marriage and gradual acceptance by the public, Camilla and Charles began focusing on the future. As Charles prepared for his role as king, it became clear that Camilla's role would also be significant. Camilla, once seen as an outsider, had to prepare herself for life as the queen consort. Over the years, she attended numerous public events, ceremonies, and diplomatic gatherings, acclimating to the pressures of royal duties. Observers noted her increasing confidence, as well as the comfort she seemed to bring to Charles during challenging public appearances. These moments highlighted her evolution from a controversial figure to a steady support for the future king. Camilla's transition wasn't only about public appearances. She also needed to win the trust of key figures within the royal institution. Many senior members of the monarchy had once opposed her presence, fearing she would disrupt the stability of the family. Camilla worked tirelessly behind the scenes, often engaging with staff, diplomats, and officials, showing her commitment to supporting Charles and the monarchy's future. Her dedication to charity and her diplomatic approach were recognized and respected, with some even calling her a calming presence within the family. Despite her progress, the issue of titles lingered. When Charles eventually ascended the throne, many wondered what title Camilla would take. The title Queen Camilla sparked debate, as some still questioned her place within the monarchy's future. However, as Charles publicly supported her, declaring his desire for her to be known as Queen Consort, the conversation took a new direction. The endorsement by Queen Elizabeth II herself in her later years also helped, sending a strong signal that Camilla had the institution's acceptance at the highest level. Camilla's life as Queen Consort would not only involve supporting Charles, but also embodying the values of the British monarchy. She needed to show that her love for Charles was matched by her commitment to duty. And with growing responsibilities, Camilla faced pressures to meet the high expectations that came with her new role. As public opinion softened, and as she gained further respect within the monarchy, Camilla seemed ready for the role she'd once never imagined would be hers. The journey was far from over. Camilla's past would always be part of her story, but her commitment to her new role showed resilience and adaptability. What legacy would she leave, and how would she be remembered? There's more ahead. Keep watching to uncover the best part of this story: Queen Consort. As Charles ascended to the throne, Camilla officially became Queen Consort, a role she'd cautiously approached. Though public opinion had softened over the years, Camilla's transition was still met with mixed reactions. She faced a challenge: winning over skeptics while fulfilling the responsibilities that came with her title. Yet Camilla didn't aim for a grand reinvention. Rather, she focused on embodying a steady and supportive presence alongside Charles, following the approach that had earned her respect gradually over the years. Camilla's style as Queen Consort was marked by subtlety. She didn't chase the spotlight, choosing instead to highlight important causes, especially issues of domestic violence, literacy, and animal welfare. In her speeches, she spoke from the heart, often referencing her own experiences. Many saw her as authentic, someone who hadn't grown up in royalty but was dedicated to her responsibilities. This approach was intended to connect with people beyond the confines of royal expectations, bridging her role with the real issues many people faced. While Camilla's low-key approach resonated with some, her position still sparked debates within the public. She was filling the shoes of Queen Elizabeth II, who had set a standard for duty and service during her long reign. Camilla, in her unique way, acknowledged this legacy, often referencing the former queen's influence and respect. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, Camilla sought to carry on traditions that honored the monarchy's values, creating a balance between continuity and her distinctive style. Interestingly, Charles's own approach to kingship seemed to adapt to Camilla's calm influence. Known for his outspoken nature on topics such as environmental issues and architecture, Charles became more measured and less confrontational as he settled into his role. Some insiders noted that Camilla's steady support allowed him to handle his duties with a sense of calm that had not always characterized him in his public life. As Queen Consort, Camilla found that she now had to manage relationships with other royal family members. Her role required both diplomacy and discretion, especially as she worked to support Charles's vision for the monarchy's future. Camilla managed these relationships carefully, aware that any misstep could lead to fresh controversy. She had faced enough public criticism to understand the importance of patience and restraint in her new role. Yet Camilla's greatest challenge was maintaining her identity in a public role defined by its expectations. Balancing public duties with her own interests and convictions proved delicate, but rather than conforming entirely to the role, Camilla managed to bring her personality into her work. By focusing on causes close to her heart and supporting Charles in a way that felt genuine, Camilla found a path forward. As Camilla settled into her new role, many wondered if the public's trust would hold. Would she overcome the last of the barriers to acceptance, or were there still hurdles ahead? Keep watching as we reveal the next steps in Camilla's journey. Challenges in the royal family. As queen consort, Camilla's journey included managing the complexities of the royal family. The royal family has always been a tight-knit traditional institution, and Camilla's entry, though gradual, still stirred emotions. Family ties within royalty are sometimes less about affection and more about loyalty, protocol, and duty. Camilla faced the challenge of managing these connections while maintaining her personal dignity and the public's respect. Her relationship with Charles's sons, William and Harry, was especially delicate. Both men held deep affection for their mother, Diana, and their bond with Camilla was understandably complicated. For years, Camilla and Charles had worked to bridge the gaps, ensuring that she didn't step into Diana's role. But now, with her elevated position, Camilla's relationship with Charles's sons would inevitably affect the royal family's unity in the public's eyes. To maintain harmony, Camilla was cautious in her interactions with the younger generation. She avoided any attempt to mother William and Harry, respecting their relationship with Diana. Instead, she positioned herself as a supportive figure, someone present but not overbearing. Her careful approach worked to an extent, as the public rarely saw any outward discord among the royal family. However, tensions did surface from time to time, especially as Harry's decisions took him further from the monarchy's fold. With Prince Harry's move to the United States and his public remarks about the family, Camilla found herself drawn into discussions about royal loyalty and family unity. She had no wish to fuel the controversy, yet her position required her to support Charles through these turbulent times. In private, Camilla's influence seemed to help Charles maintain his composure amidst criticism. Her steady presence allowed him to focus on his responsibilities, avoiding public backlash while handling family challenges diplomatically. Meanwhile, Camilla's presence in the royal family faced other tests. Members with strong opinions about monarchy tradition questioned her role, even if subtly. Queen Elizabeth's support had helped to secure her position, but with Charles now leading, Camilla found that she needed to establish her influence independently. She was now seen as a key partner to Charles in his vision for a slimmed-down monarchy, an idea that stirred both support and resistance within the royal circles. Camilla's handling of these family challenges revealed her careful balance between discretion and influence. She made no attempts to assert authority, instead focusing on upholding the family's values as Charles's confidant. Despite the obvious tensions, Camilla managed to remain elegant, showing an ability to adapt to the ever-changing dynamics within the royal family. But would Camilla's balancing act last as the family faced new challenges? Could her approach continue to smooth internal conflicts and reinforce public respect, gaining respect from the British public? Over time, Camilla's careful approach in her role as queen consort began to earn her respect from segments of the British public. The journey had been long and complicated, but her dedication to her duties and her steady support of Charles had slowly reshaped her image. Initially cast as an outsider, Camilla now found herself in a position of trust, recognized for her efforts rather than overshadowed by past scandals. Her dedication to charitable work played an important role in this transformation. Camilla's causes, domestic violence awareness, literacy, and animal rights, showed her compassion for issues affecting everyday people. She visited shelters and organizations, often speaking candidly about the struggles faced by those in need. Her openness resonated with audiences, and the public gradually saw her as more than just a royal figure, but as someone who genuinely cared. Camilla's public speeches also helped build a connection. Known for being nervous about speaking, she worked hard to improve her public speaking skills, tackling issues that mattered to her with sincerity. Her words were rarely grandiose, but always heartfelt, a quality that made her seem relatable. This vulnerability resonated with people who saw that, beneath the royal title, She was a person with fears and strengths like anyone else. As her reputation improved, media portrayals of Camilla shifted. Tabloids, which once scrutinized her every move, began covering her contributions in a more positive light. While not all coverage was favorable, there was an undeniable change in tone. Camilla had, in many ways, proven herself not only as Charles's partner, but also as a committed public figure. This change wasn't dramatic, but rather a gradual evolution that showcased her resilience. Meanwhile, Camilla's role as a grandmother also softened her image. Stories and anecdotes about her relationships with her grandchildren, both biological and step-grandchildren, showed a nurturing side. The public glimpsed a woman who balanced royal duties with family warmth, portraying her as a grandmother figure who cherished family moments. These stories added a personal touch to her public persona, further distancing her from the controversies of the past. While many had come to accept her, there remained those who held on to past perceptions. Camilla's journey to gain full acceptance is still ongoing, marked by both respect and skepticism from the public. Yet her ability to endure criticism and continue supporting her causes speaks volumes. So, do you think Queen Camilla's influence is a necessary strength or a risk to the monarchy?
At the time, it was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
In an interview that has sent shockwaves through the media and the royal family, Prince Harry has exposed a shocking betrayal by Queen Camilla that led to Meghan Markle's abrupt departure from the royal family. While the public has been captivated by Meghan's rocky relationship with the monarchy, Harry's explosive claims have shed light on the real reasons behind her banishment. According to Harry, Camilla was the driving force behind a media campaign designed to undermine Meghan's position within the royal family. This behind-the-scenes conspiracy was not only meant to discredit Meghan, but to elevate Camilla's own position as queen consort. Harry spoke candidly about how, for years, he and Meghan were subjected to constant media scrutiny. But what they didn't know at the time was that Camilla was working with journalists to leak damaging stories about Meghan. The details of these leaks, as Harry revealed, were carefully timed to coincide with moments when Meghan was most vulnerable, deepening the public's disdain for her. The royal family, already under pressure from public opinion, saw this as the perfect opportunity to distance themselves from Meghan, and in doing so, Camilla's position was solidified. But the most shocking part of Harry's admission is the realization that Meghan was never truly supported by those closest to her, including her own stepmother. Harry's revelations come as a complete shock, not just because of the betrayal within the royal family, but because of the level of manipulation involved. It wasn't just about royal duties and public appearances. It was about a calculated effort to tarnish Meghan's image, ensuring that she could never regain her footing within the royal family. With this truth now exposed, the world is left wondering what motivated Camilla to take such drastic steps. Was it truly about protecting the monarchy? Or was it about something far more personal? Camilla's deep desire for power and recognition. As Harry continues to speak out, his words paint a picture of a monarchy in turmoil, where family loyalty has been replaced by power struggles and media manipulation. This explosive reveal is the first of many, suggesting that Meghan Markle's departure was not as simple as a misunderstanding or a fallout with the royals. It was the culmination of a well-orchestrated plan to remove her from the family for good. Meghan's dark secret. While many believed that Meghan Markle's troubles with the royal family stemmed from her public outbursts or unconventional approach to royal life, Prince Harry's explosive revelations suggest a much darker story. According to Harry, Meghan's ousting was the result of a series of personal betrayals within the family, some of which Meghan had no idea were being orchestrated against her. The public story of a woman unable to conform to royal expectations was merely the surface. Beneath that surface was a deliberate campaign against her, one in which Meghan herself was unknowingly complicit at times, though she had no idea the full scope of the betrayal. Harry describes how Meghan, eager to find her place within the royal family, had unwittingly aligned herself with individuals who had their own agendas. These individuals, who outwardly appeared supportive, were secretly working with members of the royal family to gather information on Meghan and leak it to the press. Some of these leaks, according to Harry, were designed to paint Meghan in a negative light, exaggerating her struggles and creating a narrative that suited the royal family's goals. As Meghan's public persona deteriorated, Harry explains, The decision was made to remove her entirely from the family. The secret behind Meghan's expulsion, as Harry reveals, is not just about her behavior or her fit within the family's traditions. It's about the manipulation that took place at the highest levels. Meghan had no idea the full extent of the conspiracy, nor how it would affect her relationship with Harry. But as Harry slowly uncovered the truth, he realized that Meghan had been caught in a game she couldn't possibly win. This was no longer a simple matter of royal protocol. It was a battle for power, control, and the monarchy's image. Meghan was seen as a threat to both, and the decision was made to remove her. As these dark secrets come to light, it's clear that Meghan's expulsion was a result of far more than public opinion. The royal family's internal politics, combined with personal vendettas, led to her being forced out in a way that has now, according to Harry, left her permanently distanced from the royal fold. The true betrayal lies not just in Meghan's actions, but in how the royal family, with the help of outside influences, orchestrated her downfall. Harry's explosive interview. Why he finally exposed Meghan's betrayal. Prince Harry's decision to finally expose the truth about Meghan Markle's betrayal and her eventual expulsion from the royal family was not a decision he made lightly. For years, Harry kept quiet about the personal and family struggles that led to his wife's isolation. But after years of watching Meghan suffer and the royal family continuing to make false claims about her, Harry finally decided it was time to speak up. In his interview, Harry made it clear that the situation with Meghan was far more complicated than anyone realized. He revealed that not only had Meghan been manipulated by some members of the royal family, but there were also hidden betrayals from within the palace that no one had been aware of. Harry admitted that it took him time to realize the full extent of the lies being spread about Meghan. In his mind, Meghan was simply trying to find her place within a royal institution that was difficult to navigate, but the reality was far more sinister. As Harry recounts, there were key moments when he saw firsthand how Meghan's reputation was being intentionally dragged through the mud and how the press was being used to manipulate public opinion. The royal family's unwillingness to stop these attacks only made the situation worse. Harry's decision to finally speak out was his way of taking back control of his narrative and protecting the woman he loved. The decision to speak out was a difficult one for Harry, who had always valued his family's privacy and discretion. But as he explains in the interview, seeing the relentless attacks on Meghan forced him to confront the truth. His family's silence was complicity in the destruction of his wife's reputation. The betrayal of his wife by his own family members was something Harry could no longer ignore. So he chose to use his voice to expose the truth, even if it meant damaging the fragile relationship he had with his family. With Harry's emotional confessions, it becomes clear that Meghan's banishment from the royal family wasn't just about her actions. It was a carefully orchestrated plan involving multiple members of the family. Harry's willingness to speak up now is both a personal and public act of defiance, showing just how deep the royal family's internal conflicts really run. How Meghan Markle became a liability to the family. When Meghan Markle first entered the royal spotlight, she was seen as a breath of fresh air, a modern, dynamic force that would revitalize the monarchy. But what began as a fairy tale quickly spiraled into a power struggle that threatened the very foundations of the royal family. According to Harry's recent revelations, Meghan's position within the family was never secure because of the powerful forces working against her from the beginning. As her popularity soared, so did the tensions within the royal household. Harry explains that from the start, Meghan became a liability to the monarchy due to her unwillingness to conform to royal traditions. While some members of the family tried to support her, others, particularly Queen Camilla, viewed Meghan as a disruptive force. Meghan's modern approach and outspoken opinions went against everything the monarchy stood for, and the more she pushed back against tradition, the more her influence within the family began to falter. What Meghan failed to realize was that, in a monarchy driven by centuries-old customs, breaking from tradition is not easily forgiven. As Harry reveals, Meghan's clash with the royals wasn't just about her behavior, it was about her challenge to the power dynamics that had been in place for generations. Meghan, with her independent spirit and modern sensibilities, was seen as a threat to the established order. For the royal family, maintaining a strong and unified front was more important than supporting Meghan's quest for individuality. She became a pawn in a much larger game.